Look at this. The hands barely seem to move, yet the clay rises into a flawless, symmetrical shape. This is what we naturally picture when we think of mastery, a final, pristine result. But a perfect track record is a liar. When everything goes exactly right, the result flatters the creator, creating a false sense that there is nothing left to learn. If a piece survives the intense heat of the kiln through sheer luck, the craftsman gains no diagnostic data. You have a finished bowl, but you lack a map of how your hands actually built it. To find the actual roadmap to skill, you have to look away from the masterpiece and look down at the floor. In ancient workshops across the Mediterranean, the real lessons were scattered in the debris. Studying these shattered fragments is how a craft is actually built. The wreckage of a failed attempt provides the specific evidence needed to form the foundation of future learning. Imagine a potter 3 days into shaping a difficult piece. Suddenly, the tension gives out, and the clay splits clean down the side. The vessel is ruined. A success provides the finished result. A failure, however, provides the specific reason why that result was or wasn't achieved. That cracked bowl acts as a highly precise diagnostic tool. The exact line of the split shows the potter where his grip trembled, where he rushed the pace, or where the clay was stretched too thin to hold its own weight. This is a blunt, honest exchange of information. A flawless pod refuses to offer that kind of feedback, trapping a creator in a comfortable illusion of permanent expertise. The break is not an emotional setback. It is a neutral, scientific data point required to physically correct the hand before the next attempt. This exact mechanic scales up far beyond the potter's wheel. In the grueling physical training of the Spartan agoge, the state relied entirely on the diagnostic power of a mistake. This conceptual ledger tracks how Spartans measured early training. They didn't log a fall in the dirt as a loss. In their metric, a fall was recorded as a lesson survived. The system directly tracked the number of drills failed against the number of corrections absorbed. When we look at the historical data, a distinct correlation emerges. The youths who failed the highest volume of drills in early training regularly grew into the most capable soldiers. Their final capability was constructed mechanically. It was built purely out of hundreds of tiny, painful corrections absorbed from hitting the ground over and over. Physical and mental resilience is not an inherent trait. It is the sum total of absorbed, corrected errors accumulated over time. We can see this at the massive scale and high stakes of ancient maritime engineering. This is a full-scale reconstruction of a Greek wooden galley, an incredibly expensive and labor-intensive piece of technology. If a shipwright only builds hull designs that are proven to float, they guarantee safety for that season. But they also hold any technological progress for the entire fleet. To make ships faster and more maneuverable, builders had to test radically new shapes. Historical records show those advancements were driven almost exclusively by experimental vessels that took on water and sank. This is the innovator's wager. They risked an entire season's worth of timber and labor on a single design, knowing that if the hull held, every ship built after it would be superior. Pushing past the known limits of capability requires an active, conscious willingness to bet against a perfect track record. The shared experience of getting it wrong and starting over binds an entire society together. This common history of error creates a language that links every trade in the village. If you look closely at ancient Greek pottery displayed in museums today, you will often see visible seams. Families kept and mended these flawed pieces, passing them down through multiple generations. They valued these mended items over pristine ones. The visible cracks and careful repairs represented survival, the physical memory of an era, and the honest labor required to correct it. This preference showed up in their oral traditions, too. Villagers gathering at night chose to trade stories about a ruined harvest or a collapsed loom, rather than tales of easy victories. What we label as mastery is not a divine gift. It is a mechanical process. The slow, deliberate, physical accumulation of documented failure over a lifetime. The finished vessel sitting on the shelf is remembered, but the 100 cracked bowls that came before it are the reason it stands. Success is a single fleeting moment. Failure is the long accumulation of evidence that made that moment possible.